Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, delivered to you by the great folks at DoorDash.
Ding dong.
Use promo code CONVODD, capital C, capital D's, all one word, CONVODD. That will get you 25% off and free delivery on your first order with the DoorDash app. Does not get much better than
I gotta
that,
stop.
folks.
I've been DoorDashing too much. Actually, you can see in the bottom right of the camera there, my beautiful fiance there. She wants me off DoorDash, but I will not stop.
Okay. My name's Dave Quadrelli.
Yep.
Joined as always by the man who built the place, Chris Faber. Our technical producer is Alex Allard.
Alex is getting stretched thin too. Poor guy.
Alex has a lot going on. He's still on a Ottawa Senators show right now.
Oh,
he's producing two shows at once. He's the fastest freaking kid alive, folks. I'm doing my best.
Well,
Bob McCown
I got
impression.
a bunch of graphics, Alex. So just so you know,
he can't hear you. We've been over this. You keep trying to talk to him and he can't hear you right now. It's very funny.
That's not good. I got the graphics coming.
Anyway,
graphics.
I've got my best impression of Bob McCown going on with the sunglasses in the studio. It's bright in here. Like, it's very cold outside. Also should mention, high above Rogers Arena on a little nipply day, I'd say. It's very cold outside.
Okay.
Very cold day today. But it's a nice day. It's very sunny. I had the sunglasses out, and I wore them into the studio today. What do you think of that decision?
Yeah. I don't know.
I'll skip right over that.
No, you've been good with when you do put the sunglasses on. You've brought good stuff in the past,
and I intend to do that today.
And
starting with
pictures and everything.
Starting with the great folks at Zephyr Epic, who sponsor all of our guest posts. Harmon Dayal going to join us on the show today. All of our guests brought to you by the great folks at Zephyr Epic. You can use promo code Hockey Season, capital H, capital S, all one word, Hockey Season. That will get you $5 off your order at ZephyrEpic.com, ZEPHYR Epic, on all platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, whatever it is. Check them out. Zephyr Epic. They've got you set for the Pokemon cards. Whatever it is that you need, Zephyr Epic has got you covered. Sam Wilson jumped in the chat and said someone's hung because I'm wearing a toque and shades. That's not it. It was Monday yesterday, Sam. No, that's not it. I'll take them off at some point, probably when Harmon joins us. But the best part about Zephyr Epic is that they ship free on any order, Canada-wide, on any order over $50 from
Cumberland. You know where Cumberland is?
No, I've heard of it.
Vancouver Island.
I thought
it's in the Comox Valley.
Okay, I've been up the valley. Been to Comox.
You go there, you get goats on the roof nearby there in Coombs, which actually would have been another one to use. From Cumberland to Cap Chat, Quebec. Cap Chat, population 2,623. This is what they say up in Cat Chat. I don't know if Alex can hear this or got the graphic, so I got the graphic ready. They say that this place could be named after this rock that looks like a cat, apparently. I mean, it kind of looks like a cat.
Yeah, podcast listeners love it.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is it's named after a rock that it's a pretty big rock. Like, I'll give them that. It is a very big rock. I don't, like, I guess it's a cat standing up and looking back a little bit. Are you see, like, do you know what I'm talking about here with this Cap Chat thing?
Well, the listeners think I'm high as a kite, so I'm not going to even comment.
Well, that's what, the people in the comments say, take those off.
Yeah, Giaco jumped in the chat and said, high as a kite above Rogers Arena.
He's got Doritos dust in his eyes.
That would have been a funny intro.
Here's the two theories about the origin of the town's name.
Oh boy, there's more of this.
One, the simple one, just believes that the town, it also looks like a cat on a map, like a cat laying down on the map when you look at the town and the borders of the town. So they got this rock that looks like a cat. The town looks like a cat. I didn't think the town looked that much like a cat. Here's the other one. This other theory is a bit more fanciful. According to a local legend, a cat walking along the shore killed and ate various animals, whereupon the cat fairy accused him of eating her offspring. And for the punishment of the cat that was eating animals off the beach, it was turned into stone forever. And that's where that big rock comes from. So is that more likely than the town looking like a cat? I don't know.
I believe it.
I'm not from there.
Okay.
But the other thing, I got more.
Boy, okay, here we go.
The other thing is they're big on wind turbines there in Cap Chat. Cap Chat wind turbines. They got 76 of these horizontal axis wind turbines, which also known as HAWT, HAWT, horizontal axis wind turbines. They got 76 of them there. And they also have one vertical axis wind turbine known as a VAWT, V-A-W-T, not as cool as HOT. And it's known as Projet Éole. Éole. Yeah, I've mixed Spanish and French there. Projet Éole, which is the largest vertical axis wind turbine in the world, standing at 110 meters tall.
I'm going to have to shut off your mic.
360 feet. And but they haven't used it the last 10 years.
Okay,
because,
that's your last fact for today.
What do you mean?
I don't want to hear. Nobody wants to hear anymore.
There it is, right there
on
the
okay.
There. Oh,
Can
nothing to show here. That's what the picture says.
Let's get to the hockey talk here.
Thanks.
Let's get to the hockey talk. Jim
good,
Rutherford.
Sorry, I like to shout out Zephyr having good folks over there. If you want to cut it off early, that's cool.
Early. He went on for 6 minutes. Jim Rutherford's comments. Canucks president Jim Rutherford made appearance, on Sportsnet 650 last night with Dan Riccio and Satyar Shah. Had a lot to say, and they weren't great things about Bruce Boudreau and the state of the Vancouver Canucks right now. And look, some of those comments are fair, but some of the comments also came across as being, okay, does Bruce really deserve this? And there's something at Canucks Army right now by Stéphane Roger about how Bruce doesn't deserve this.
I left my book in the other room with all my quotes on it.
You can go get it. I have some stuff.
Okay, you start. I'll be right back. I'm turning my camera back to the wind turbine here.
Nothing so that nobody sees your shorts.
Yeah, well, I don't want anyone to see these shorts.
They're great shorts.
No one's gonna see these shorts.
Well, as you
fiance told me I'm not allowed to wear these shorts.
As you walk away, Chris Faber's got these Pikachu shorts that he wears. They're big baggy shorts. They're fantastic. I don't know why he doesn't like them, why he won't put them on camera. I wear sweatpants to the studio. I don't know what his excuse is, but I did want to talk about these Jim Rutherford comments as Kristen goes and gets his notes with the actual quotes on them. But what Rutherford had to say that I think I had the most problem with as Chris Faber re-enters the studio is when he talked about the structure with the defense core, right? Where he was like, it shouldn't matter who's on defense. If we had structure, they'd be playing a lot better.
Yep.
Look, no one's complaining about the structure when the Canucks are getting these multi-goal leads in games. Is it not about execution or, changing it up a little bit and making sure that your guys are locking down games at the end there? Like, I don't really understand where the criticism's coming from because, look, again, no one was complaining about a lack of structure last. Actually, they did mention a lack of structure last year, but then they didn't do anything to address it. I think they, they doubled down on it is what the big problem that I have with it is again, I don't want to use that term double down. I hate saying it, but they invested in JT Miller getting a 99-point season in that loosey-goosey structure and whatever they want to call it, the system that they hate so much. They invested in him for 7 years off that season. So if this was your idea that Bruce was going to come in and change his system, because look, the Canucks are playing basically the same as they did last year. They're just not getting Vezina caliber goaltending. And we knew last year that it wasn't good enough. Rutherford came out and said, it's not good enough. They're not good enough and they get bailed out by their goalie. What's becoming concerning is the idea that Rutherford apparently thinks that the reason they weren't good enough in front of their goalie was because of Bruce and his structure. That's what it's starting to seem like. When those quotes first came out, not the ones yesterday, the ones before about how they don't play with enough, it's not good enough in front of their goalie, they get bailed out a lot. I didn't think that the idea there was Bruce has to fix this because this isn't good enough. I thought it was, we know the defense core isn't good enough and we need to make it better. That's what it came across as. And now it's looking like what he really meant was Bruce doesn't have it. Bruce can't figure this out.
Yeah.
And it's shocking. It's shocking to hear him come out the way he did.
Here's the quote from Rutherford on the blown leads. He said, it's a major concern and something has to be fixed. But so he's reading from that quote, and reading from a lot of what Rutherford said was they felt good about this roster going into this season and Boudreau's structure is the thing that's letting out. Was that not the overall takeaway from his availability on Sportsnet? Was there wasn't a lot. There was much. Well, I'll say there was some knocks on the roster and how the roster that he's built in the defense core a little bit. But to me, there was much more shade thrown at the coaching and the structure than the actual roster that's there. And it's it doesn't take the smartest hockey mind in the world to figure out that the Canucks have a problem on their back end. I think everybody in our chat here, everybody listening to this podcast can agree that, like, hey, the Canucks defense probably isn't good enough to be a strong playoff team that's going to be competing with teams who are going to Stanley Cups. If everything went the way for their forward group, I think you could make somewhat of an argument to say, like, it's a good forward group, right? When the forward group's all clicking, it's a great forward group. If they're all clicking, like I said, but nobody out there was like, yeah, but the defense is going to be the thing that carries them. The defense needs to be addressed. And it feels like you mentioned that a little bit, but to me, like, I kept hearing Rutherford say structure. It's like every time he said it, I just kept thinking, to me, like, structure leans more on the players that are assembled here. Like, the actual structure of this team is more, to me, a problem because of what the players that they're putting on the ice than it is what Boudreau's doing to these players. Like, I think Bruce had a really good run with this team last season. I didn't think it was going to be the exact same, but I thought that if Boudreau still has that, the thing that Boudreau's done his whole career is, like, get his players motivated to get to the playoffs, right? Does he does that almost everywhere he goes. And I don't think that's going to change so much. And I don't think it's his coaching style that's the main thing holding this team back. I think it's, making that big investment in JT Miller and him not stepping up in the start of the season. We're going to see him go back to center today, which is going to be a little bit worrisome as well in my eyes. And yeah, the whole conversation was strange to me, man. I like a couple more quotes. I just want to get to them right off the top. This one from Rutherford as well. He said, "We have to make players accountable. We'll have to take the necessary steps to get the players' attention." And it's like, I keep hearing these things, right? I keep hearing about the general manager wanting to make changes. I keep hearing about this team needing to upgrade the defense core. It's like, when are they actually going to do it, though? I keep hearing a lot of, like, things that I think are promising, but it's weird. This past interview to me was just like, heard a lot of things from Rutherford that I feel like weren't the exact same verbiage that he used in the past, or that we've heard from Patrick Alvin in the past. But it felt like, to me, it was like, I'm tired of hearing it. Like, I'd like to actually see something be done for the changes here. I'd like to see you get the players' attention by doing something. Because to me, it's something that would have got the players' attention would be moving a JT Miller in the offseason before signing him. Like, that would have been something that would have got the players' attention. Now, all you're really left with it being able to do is move Bo Horvat. That's the only real big trade that's going to get the players' attention.
Which, from what Rutherford said yesterday, it really sounds like that's going to happen. Like, a Bo Horvat trade has to be on the docket here.
Yeah, and what I'm talking about is, like, we've heard about this team wanting to, and I know he didn't want to use the word rebuild. He wanted to talk about build. Here's another quote from Rutherford. He said, "We're going to look to make bigger deals," and he was talking about the Dickinson trade. And he said, "to open up a lot more cap space so we can be involved in some of the talks to some of the players who are going to be available next offseason." I think that's a combination of free agency and players that will be available in trade, because he also talked about how they couldn't make the Bear trade 2 months ago because of cap space. So I don't know. To me, it's like, I think we're at the point now where we've heard, softball brings up a really good point, actions speak louder than words. It's because we're hearing the same words, but no action is happening.
Yeah, like the main theme that we're hearing is they're trying to get rid of all these bad contracts that the Benning regime had. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. They haven't done anything. And I know you want to be patient to an extent, but it doesn't seem like they're actually being patient. It seems like they're just putting Band-Aids on broken bones. How many times have we said that, right? And again, I think that's the big problem that everybody has with this, is it's no different than what it was before. Also, I just choked on some air there. That was
you're getting fired up.
I was getting fired up. Quickly, before we get to Harmon Dayal on the show, I quickly wanted to get to this quote, because Boudreau responded to what Rutherford said. And basically, like he said right off the top of his media veil, he said, "Listen, I'm not going to get into an argument over whether we do or we don't play with enough structure. We play as hard as we can, as well as we can, and we lay it all out on the line every night. It is what it is. I try to keep the noise out of the room as much as I can." That noise is coming from the president, right? Like, and then Bo Horvat talks, and Bo Horvat again was like, "Oh, I don't know what was said. I'm just trying to lead by example on and off the ice. I think our details are stronger this year after full training camp with Bruce and having more familiar with the systems." Like, those quotes that we're hearing.
First of all, the Horvat quote of like, "Oh, I didn't hear what it was said." Yeah, right. Like, what are you doing? Are you kidding me?
Hang on. Let's take him at his word there.
Okay.
But they're answering these questions as if it was like one of us that said it.
Right.
Like they're answering the questions like it was us.
Like
that
it was Hockey
threw
Night in Canada Saturday.
Yeah, that we threw out
right?
a big report that was like the Canucks aren't playing with enough structure. It was the president.
It's
it was the president of the team.
see the coach being like, we want to prove everybody wrong. And who's he talking about? The president and I guess general manager is who he's lumping in there with everybody.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't have to prove everybody wrong in your organization. I just don't know if that's a great.
And again, we've
in,
talked about it, but the Travis Green contract is really, it's going to affect their ability to fire.
Sure, but I don't know. I've thought about this more and more. And it's like, they have Mike Yeo under contract
and Jeremy Colleton, as you mentioned.
Sure, and Jeremy Colleton, but I think Yeo is the guy who was with Alvin in the Pittsburgh organization for like 6 seasons.
Yeah,
right, 5 or 6 seasons they were together in Pittsburgh. I know that Yeo was an assistant there, and Alvin was just a scout, but there has to be some sort of connection between those two, and that's what. I think we were discussing this before, and you're like, oh, but Yeo, he might be Boudreau's guy, right? Like he's the one, but it's like in my eyes, I think it's probably Alvin's guy.
We don't know.
Yeo is. Well, they must have a connection. I don't know if maybe Boudreau and Yeo have crossed paths before this, but to me,
I think when that hiring was made, this is someone Bruce likes.
Sure,
that was what we were told.
Yeah,
okay,
and in my eyes, it's more Alvin likes him.
Yeah. Okay, we're not going to get into semantics.
We can't play because we're on YouTube. We can't play the intro anymore.
I'll sing it. Here comes the money, $. As we bring in Harmon Dayal, his theme music. We don't have it this time, but Harmon Dayal of The Athletic joins us now. Harmon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really well. I only just realized, actually, I don't think you guys can get it in the shop, but in the background here, I had my cup banner from a soccer championship, and I was just thinking to myself as I was preparing to hop on your guys' show, man, I really hope we get one of these banners in Rogers Arena for a cup win in our lifetimes.
Well, I'll tell you what, Harm, if you're showing off trophies, how about this, bud? 2008 most valuable player in junior varsity football.
There's
you go.
Nothing on
hell
top
yeah.
of it.
Well, yeah, it broke at a party one time when I was in Victoria. Somebody knocked it down. I lost the second part.
Okay, enough. Harmon, Jim Rutherford's comments, your reaction.
I didn't like them personally. I look at the situation this team's in right now, and look, guys, Bruce Boudreau was the second fastest coach to 600 wins in NHL history. He's a very good head coach. Everywhere he's gone, he's had regular season success. All of his previous stops, Minnesota, Anaheim, Washington, he's as qualified as it gets. We saw the run that they had in the second half of last season. If Bruce Boudreau isn't the coach that can take this roster and turn it into a playoff team, I have very little confidence that any other coach can come in and provide meaningfully better results. And I think this really just comes down to the roster construction. And from Rutherford's perspective, I think this is a lot of deflection in terms of not owning up to his management group's ability to upgrade the defense and fix the situation, some of the holes on this roster. I mean, even going into, for example, the penalty kill, they had the exact same issues last season, and right now they don't have a high-end penalty killing center. They don't have a single one on their roster. How are you going to win hockey games and make the playoffs like that? Horvat and Miller, they can win draws, but in zone they're not actually very good. Elias Pettersson in zone is a very good penalty killer, but he can't win faceoffs, which is essential because that first clear is necessary. So we're talking about having the worst penalty kill in National Hockey League. The penalty kill is so bad that the Canucks' power play right now is at 30%. It's third in the NHL. And yet when you combine their power play and penalty kill percentage, they're at like 90%. They're well below par on special teams. And I can't look at that penalty kill and blame that on Bruce Boudreau because he's tried everything that he could. He obviously with Scott Walker, they started tinkering and played a more aggressive forecheck style last season. But I just look at this roster and there are too many holes on it. And for me, the biggest thing that stood out after Rutherford's appearance on After Hours, when he spoke with Scott Oak, he was talking about the blue line situation, saying, oh, well, it's not fantasy hockey. We can't just upgrade the defense like that. The thing is, if you knew that, why would you double down on the roster? If you knew that the second half run was unsustainable, that it was on the back of elite goaltending, why would you double down on the roster? And so that's where I think from management, we've seen a lot of contradictory messaging where they'll talk about the second half of last season and say, oh, well, like Alvin, even in his even when he addressed the media, was talking about, oh, well, teams were taking us lightly. Demko was lights out and the best goalie from December onward. We weren't very good at 5-on-5. We were too reliant on the power play. If you knew all these issues, then why did you not pivot and lean in a more of a rebuilding direction? Start shipping out start shipping out players on this roster for future assets. Instead, they continued in this win now direction. So to me, hearing Rutherford speak, I mean, it's true that the Canucks don't play with enough structure, but I don't think that's on Bruce Boudreau. I think that pertains to the personnel on this roster.
That's kind of what we were saying before. It's like, to me, the more I heard Rutherford say structure, the less I thought about the coaching structure and the more I thought about the roster structure. I mean, that to me is the bigger problem here. And I think back to, as much as, I didn't love Travis Green as the head coach, I think back to like one of his final quotes before he was let go was just like, this is the guys that I have, right? Like, Boudreau's in the same spot. I believe that Boudreau is a coach that gets, half decent teams into the playoffs. I don't know. It felt like, to me, I'm so tired of hearing things that sound good. And it almost just came to fruition yesterday where it was like, I think a lot of people and a lot of Canucks fans looked at the way that Rutherford was talking about this team and was like, okay, but now it just feels like you're making Boudreau a scapegoat at this point, right? Instead of actually doing the things that you're talking about and making your work done on the structure that you can handle, it just felt like he used that word to kind of put things on Bruce Boudreau. And I think that's what, unfortunately, the spot that we're at right now with this team. And yeah, I think a lot of people are in the same boat hearing those comments yesterday. And I'm happy that Rutherford came out and spoke, but to hear the way that he addressed the situation and kind of pointed towards the negatives of the coaching staff, that was worrisome. And I think I'm curious, like, what do you think when you hear this situation now playing out in Vancouver playing out in Ottawa, where it's like Boudreau was being asked to, to prove them wrong. And when he's talking about them, he's talking about his own organization. Like, this is now a story that I don't know if Rutherford meant to do this or not, to potentially do a distraction or something, but like, this is now the biggest story in the NHL after what happened yesterday on Sportsnet.
Yeah. And even when we speak about structure, right, and you think about what that could entail, even if you bring in a different coach at some point, whether it's later this season or even next season, and you start instilling a defense first mindset into some of these players, the thing is, we saw a potential sample of what that could look like with this personnel at the start of last season with Travis Green. Because if you guys remember, in the 2021 season, the sort of COVID year, the all-Canadian division, the Canucks were sort of playing this loosey-goosey style, allowing way too many odd-man rushes, and they were tire fire defensively. So going into last season, Green said, okay, we need to buckle things down, same sort of thing, play with more structure. We need to prevent some of these odd-man rushes, defend better in front of our net, cut down on turnovers, be a more responsible two-way team. We need to have our forwards helping out our defensemen more, have tighter gaps so that the defensemen can, for example, close on forwards more quickly, knowing that they have the support of forwards reloading and back-checking. They implemented that, and look, it actually improved their defensive results, but look at what it cost them offensively. The Canucks were anemic at trying to generate anything at 5-on-5, and that's the issue that I sort of see with, okay, even if you try and implement a more structured style, I don't think you have the horses to actually have success with it. Sure, you're going to improve and upgrade your defensive results, but this Canucks team has never really been, outside of the Pettersson line, been able to generate a lot of offense off the rush. Their ability to generate even certain offense is reliant on being able to force turnovers on the forecheck. Well, if you dial back and play a more structured style, that means you're going to implement a more conservative forecheck. And if your forecheck all of a sudden isn't going to be aggressive and creating offense, how are you going to score at 5-on-5? And so that to me is people will bring up the structure and I just don't see how changing the style of play or changing the system in any meaningful way is going to boost the results in any significant way. And it does sort of the way Rutherford has plainly and honestly sort of gone after not only the structure, but the preparation, sort of saying our players weren't prepared for the start of the season, the road trip. I mean, that's a pretty damning way to describe the head coach's preparation of the roster. And definitely, I think it puts Boudreau on blast, and it should light a fire under the players as well to hear, like, if they have any pride for Boudreau and they really do love playing for him. Now the players have to respond and prove to management that Boudreau isn't the problem. They have to try and step up for him, I think.
Do you get the sense, I'll ask you a two-part here, Harmon. Do you get the sense that Rutherford's like trying to make Boudreau quit? And the second question, what would you do if you were Bruce Boudreau in this situation?
In terms of the whole quitting thing, I mean, Boudreau's paid a lot of money. I mean, are you going to turn down millions and just give up on a season? I wouldn't. And so I don't that doesn't really register as a likely possibility for me. I mean, sure, Boudreau's been in it for a really long time, and I'm sure he's done really well for himself financially, but I don't know. I wouldn't see a reason to kind of quit. And Boudreau has never really struck me as a quitter. No matter how miserable the situation has been so far this season, he's always been so upbeat, always been so positive, always glass half full. And the fact that he almost rescued the team, given the fact that their hole was even deeper last season, I'm sure he's still going to have faith in thinking that if I could do it last season, I can right the ship this season as well. So I don't think it was necessarily about, wanting Boudreau to quit, or even if it was, I don't think at this juncture anyway that that's really a realistic possibility. And
he loves it.
If I was
coaching too much.
Exactly, like he doesn't coach in the league just as a job or as a profession. He coaches it as a passion. He loves the game. He loves everything about it. So that right there to me stands out. And then in terms of what I would do if I was in Bruce's situation, I mean, I would kind of do what he sort of alluded to in his comments ahead of tonight's game against Ottawa, is trying to create an us versus them mentality where, because look, if Rutherford has also made it clear that it's not just coaching staff, if the team continues the way it has right now, the players are going to have to be accountable. And whether it was the reports earlier about potentially guys losing their spots on the lineup or guys getting waived, guys getting moved in more substantial trades, the players are eventually going to have to pay the tab for this too. And so if I'm Boudreau, I'm trying to sort of, every coach loves to sort of make their group feel like the underdogs and be able to rally around that and really fire the group up emotionally. So what I would kind of do is kind of lump myself in with the players and sort of look at it as everybody's counting us out, everybody's doubting us. We got to have more pride. We got to show management. We got to show everybody around the league what we're really worth, and that's really all you can do, because I don't think that there's a quick fix in terms of the systems. There are some personnel decisions recently that I sort of disagree with in terms of, I mean, I really hope Nils Höglander is into scratch. I don't really like how Riley Stillman has still been on the third pair. I think it's time for Rathbone or Burrows to get an opportunity there. But outside of those minor things, like, that's not costing the team wins and losses right now in a significant way. So all you can really do is try and mentally get to this group and get them angry, get them pissed off, get them in that FU mentality.
Well, Harm, we'll leave you on that. We're getting a comment here on the YouTube says Harm too handsome for this YouTube channel. So I don't know what that means about you and I, Quads, but and Harm, by the way, Alex, you can pull it up. I got that thing that you asked for this hit here. There it is. A big
that's amazing.
That's your ask for the show.
Rent was due soon, so
yeah, you betcha.
Awesome.
Harm,
thanks, boys.
Man, finally nice to get you on the video version of the show here. So appreciate it, man. We'll do it again soon.
Keep killing it, guys.
There he is, Harmon Dayal of The Athletic. Good to
money.
finally get him on. Finally to get Harm on the show. He used to be a regular back in the podcast days, but like I said, it took me a while to get that room put together. There.
Commander Vander jumped in the chat here. Also,
and by the way, good to have Commander Vander back in chat. Said that they had the day off today, so they're happy to be back.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people back in the chat. It's very nice. Chat is booming as always. Coaching shouldn't be under the gun right now. It's so obviously roster construction. That's the problem.
Hey, we talked about Boudreau firing back about a little bit of that. I'm going to read the full quote, because I think the full quote means even more than what, like, we had the tweet from Thomas Durant's up earlier of like just a couple quotes from it, but here's the full quote. Boudreau said, "Every person wants to prove people wrong when they say things. I'm a pretty competitive guy at heart, and maybe that's the message. What you're trying to do is prove that what they say is not a true statement. It's just so wild to me. It feels like a rift, right? Like it absolutely feels like a rift. I mean, the fact that the coach is like talking about his own management group and his own president and calling them like they and that group and these people talking this way. It's wild. It's wild. This is like this. I don't want to say this is like the most dysfunctional thing of the season because it's only for some reason actually just like in a line of other things that have been wild to deal with this Canucks season. But man, I didn't think we'd be here like on November 8th.
People are picking up on this. Rutherford's done this since he's come to Vancouver. Okay. He's referred to the team as the Canucks.
Yes.
He doesn't say our team or us or we. Sometimes he'll say we and us, sure. But he often says the Canucks aren't doing this well enough. I'm like, I wonder who's part of that. It's just, and he probably means himself too. Sure. But it's just, it's a little thing that someone pointed out is that, he says the Canucks. He doesn't say us often.
I think it's gonna, in a weird way though, like if you're the players, if you're Boudreau, in a weird way, this is going to bring performance up on the ice tonight. I feel like, right? Like, is that Rutherford's play then? Like, seriously, is it? Is that Rutherford's
he's obviously
play?
Trying to get the team going.
Because someone was like, "Oh, is what he's saying here going to be, something?" That, I don't know who wrote it in the comments there, but like, is this going to make Boudreau want to quit? Boudreau's never.
No, Boudreau's not quitting.
Okay, Boudreau loves this job. You hear like I remember when he first got hired. It was I think the first press availability, and he was just talking about like how happy he was to be back in hockey, back coaching in the NHL. Listen, when this guy's not coaching in the NHL, what does he own? Like a minor hockey league team and like a junior hockey team,
which he enjoys.
Yeah, of course, sure, he enjoys that. But the guy enjoys being in the NHL. He got his 600th win. And did you hear? I think like when someone said that, I thought back to last week. Do you remember? Or it was a few weeks ago. He did a sit. It might have been like very early in the season. Actually, I don't know how long. When was the start of the season? Like a month ago. We're not even like a month into this. Okay, that's wild because it feels like it's been like 6 months of everything that's happened so far this season. But when Boudreau sat down with Dan Murphy, it was like for the home opener, I think, or the first game of the season. They sat down actually at UBC, and like hearing Boudreau talk about how important it is for him to like what it would mean to win a Stanley Cup. You just hear like the passion in his voice talking about wanting to win a Stanley Cup, wanting to be the best team in hockey in the world. And like, yeah, this guy's not quitting. So I don't think that that's a situation. And to hear that, like these two talk, but I think that it almost feels like what Jim Rutherford did yesterday was like, to me, it's so wild that it just feels like a play. Like it feels like a card that he's playing to inspire this group.
Yeah.
Which is like, if it is, that's strange to me, man. That's a very strange situation.
This is a strange situation. It's the soap opera of the Vancouver Canucks right now. Like
Commander Banner says it. These Canucks seasons are long.
Yeah.
I can't believe the season started less than like a month ago.
That makes two of us, bud. Can we just get to the hockky though? Can we talk about the lineup?
Yeah, we got the lineup.
I don't want to talk about these comments and this drama. Like it's unbelievable.
Alex, I think's back on board here. Alex, you got the video of Jack Rathbone being freed. We got the full video here, which look at him. He's free. Jack Rathbone.
What movie is that from?
He just crawled through 500 yards of crap.
That's right. I know that movie. Shawshank Redemption. 500
yards of Stillman crap to get to this point.
Let's get to that lineup. Andrei Kuzmenko, Ilya Mikheyev missed the skate, but it was optional. It was an optional morning skate per Bruce Boudreau. Niels Höglander looks like the odd man out. Let's start there.
No.
Where do you want to start?
We have spent days and days and days putting up a picture of Jack Rathbone behind bars. We are starting with Jack Rathbone.
Looks like Jack Rathbone's going to get in for Riley Stillman.
Chance, Boudreau said.
Good chance that he'll get in for Riley Stillman. But hey, at morning skate, reportedly from Tom, Stillman was still skating with Myers and Rathbone was with Burrows. So what's this going to look like tonight?
And the other interesting thing, I saw the penalty kill group be tweeted out from yesterday, and Burrows was out there killing penalties.
As he should be. Get the guy in the lineup.
Sure. I'm fine either way as long as it's not still like we've been doing the whole free Rathbone thing for sure. But it's more about like it, as much as we put up the graphics and put all this stuff about Rathbone and want to see him play, to me it's more about bench Stillman at this point.
Well, I would put Rathbone and Burrows in the lineup ahead of OEL and Stillman. I would play Burrows on the left side ahead of OEL.
Yeah, especially when you have back-to-backs.
Yeah, give him some rest.
Right.
Okay, anything else in the lineup?
Well, Brock Besser is going to return the lineup. He's going to play with Tanner Pearson and JT Miller on a top line. I worry a little bit there. Obviously, we talked about JT Miller's defensive numbers when he's playing center a little bit on yesterday's show, but I do have a little bit of worry there. But what I do hope, and for Brock Besser, the recent injury here, and I wouldn't I think I said it the other, it's not really an injury. It's I guess it could be like it's the scar that opened, right? He told us that the scar opened, and because of like getting so sweaty in an open scar, obviously you're a little worried about infection at that point and stuff like that. Which, by the way, that's not what we heard he was dealing with. Nothing to do with an infection. It was just the scar, and they were worried a little bit. I actually do like that gave him another week because I do think he was rushed back. I think he was rushed back a little bit, and I don't think he was at 100% in the first few games. I think the stats don't say much different about it. This guy was not scoring goals as a player who wanted to come in and, made it very clear to us in training camp that 30 goals was going to be this year. That's how much he was going to score at least. Obviously hasn't been on track for that, but I think that this little bit of extra time to maybe actually heal the part that was, surgically repaired or worked on in the surgery. The fact that there was a little bit of extra time added because of the scarring issue, I think this is good for him. I think that the wrist is going to look better tonight than it did at the start of the season for sure. So I'm expecting to see a little bit of a better version of Brock Besser tonight, but I do worry about the foot speed on that line. And, I worry about Pearson's foot speed in general. I worry about JT Miller's foot speed because of the effort level that he does in his defensive zone. And Brock Besser, to me, is like the best defensive player on that line. Like, I think Pearson does a pretty good job of like positioning, but I think speed-wise and keeping up with the cycle, you might be a little worried. And Alex, maybe you can get the Sens line up here a little bit because
Sorry,
go ahead.
Gotta cut you off. Kevin Punter jumped in the chat and said, OEL is clearly hurt or not in good shape. I get you don't want $7 million in the press box, but he's been anemic. OEL told PJ, Patrick Johnson of the province, that he's in the best shape of his life and he's never felt better than he does right now. Because I'm pretty sure that other people were having that same thought of he must
like
be
me
hurt.
Saying that, like, I'm in the best shape of my life right now, and
well,
I never felt better.
He might be.
Well, I'm 7 days into the gym, day 8 today.
All indications are that he's not playing hurt right now, which that might be a little bit worrisome in itself.
Yeah, that is true.
Go on. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I said I've been to the gym 7 days in a row. Not a big deal. Going today still 2. Make it 8. Let's look at the Senators lineup just to see how some things will match up here against the Sens. Listen, it's not a lineup that's going to blow you away, but I mean, think about that top line, right? Like Stützle, Tkachuk, and Giroux. There's some good skill and speed there, right? DeBrincat's now in this lineup. Let's not forget about that. They have some skill. We're going to see Tyler Mott again tonight. I forgot completely about all this Rutherford stuff. I forgot this is the Tyler Mott revenge game. He's going to score 2 goals. You can bet on that. We'll get to the Betway later. I should have found that bet. And I mean, like this, they have a decent roster and they've just lost 5 in a row. Like they're going to be looking at this Canucks team. And listen, for the Canucks fans and all of the people in this chat, they're like, nice. The Senators, they've lost 5 in a row. This is great. Great team to run into right now. Great time for Rutherford to make these comments and fire up the group. But you think the Sens are looking at what's going on with the Vancouver Canucks and are like, well, this is the game we're snapping that 5-game losing streak, boys. So I got Vancouver in town. Think about everything that's going on in Vancouver. I think that's how teams are looking at this Canucks team right now.
As a Sens fan, I can confirm.
Thank you, Alex. It's good to know Alex is here. I mean, Alex, let's bring you in because this is a good time to chat a little bit about the Sens. What's been going on the last 5 games in this losing streak here? Because I think there was a lot of hope for what this Senators team was going to do this year, specifically over the last 5 here. It's been a real downward trend on this team.
Yeah, unfortunately, people are calling for DJ Smith's head here in Ottawa or a little bit, and that's kind of been the discussion going around. DeBrincat has 2 goals. They're expecting him to have 40 this year. It's going to be hard for him to hit that number probably now. And, splitting him up with Giroux, Norris injury, having Brassard coming in. They haven't really found an answer there yet. And, center ice is kind of important. And then if you notice there on the right side beside Shabbat, Zub went down with an injury, and now we got Jacob Bernard Docker up playing his first game of the year. Good first-round pick. He was a Team Canada standout, and a lot of Sens fans are going to keep an eye on that guy. And I don't know if you mentioned Jake Sanderson, but he might already be the Senators' best defenseman. I'll leave you guys with that.
Hey, Alex, what I said there before was like, hey, I expect, like, for you being a Sens fan, you're looking at the Canucks coming to town as like, hey, this is the game to break that 5-game losing streak, right? Like, that's the way that other teams are looking at this Canucks team, I have to assume right now.
Yeah, you know that like Spider-Man pointing at himself meme you see online all the time? Like that's what the Canucks and Sens are doing right now at the Canadian Tire Center hallway.
That is great. We got to talk to the graphics
on that, and we'll close it out here soon. But on that note, remember the last time the Senators were deep in a playoff run? Wasn't it like 2018, 2017? Eastern Conference Final, something like that.
We get Alex in here.
Well, Alex doesn't jump in. We're pretty sure about that, right? But Sens are passing them. Sens are about to pass them in their competitiveness.
Yeah, I mean, like the players that Alex mentioned there, like Sanderson's a good defenseman.
You got really good young players. Shane Pinto.
Bernard Docker, I think, is another guy that, first round pick from a few years ago. You hope that he's going to be an NHLer here pretty quick. And first game tonight, as Alex mentioned there. I mean, it's going to be I think I'm hoping tonight's, I wouldn't be surprised to see another 8-5 game, right? Like, is this another game where we're going to see the Ducks, two teams that are not going the right direction? But I do expect, I expect the Canucks to be pretty fired up because of their comments that their president made. But I also expect the Sens to be fired up for similar reasons of like, they want to play for their coach probably at this point. I think DJ Smith is a coach that, a player's coach from, I think, everything that I've seen from the outside looking in anyways. So I think they're going to want to play for this guy. And I think even hearing like the comments from Claude Giroux on Saturday night, like you could tell, I feel like this is the time if you're the Sens and you brought in Claude Giroux, like this is probably the last couple of days. I'm sure he's had a lot to say, and maybe it's a time where he like recognizes that he needs to step up for this team. So we'll wrap with the chat there. We'll get to I don't have quick little prospects thing tomorrow. So I'll have an update tomorrow on the show from the Four Nations game, which Karamaki and Elias Pettersson, they'll be playing in that one. They're playing Czechia's U19 team. So normally the Four Nations tournament has Russia in it, right? But we talked about this. Russia's not there. So Czechia is sending a U19 team, a U20 team, and then Finland is also sending a U19 team and a U20 team. So these U19 teams probably going to get whooped, especially by Sweden, who's not sending a U19 team. They're just sending their basically World Junior team. So tomorrow should be I hope it's a big points night for Karamaki. I hope I have some clips to talk about tomorrow on the prospects report. But we'll get to the Betway bet. Betway. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 years of age or older. Vancouver Canucks to win on the money line. So just win in general. Over 6.5 total goals in the game. And Bo Horvat to score a goal. That'll get you plus 550 on Betway. And then I do my score predictors. You hate this. The company hates this. Betway's sending me emails about me not doing plus 8,000 bets. But what did I hit a couple weeks ago? Kyle Burrows scoring first goal of the game, plus 8,000. Thank you very much.
You're so lucky.
So we'll see what happens on this one. 6-1. If you want to ride with me, $50 will get you 4,000. I'm not recommending betting $50 on this unless you have a lot of money to blow. Like Harmon Dayal could bet that and feel pretty good about himself because that's all he gets paid. Basically the estimated return that you see on that plus 8,000 bet, that's what Harm charges for a hit here on the podcast. So
wrap it up.
Okay, that's all I got for Betway.
19 plus to play.
Must be 19 years of age or older.
That's right.
That's what I say. What do you say? 19 plus to play?
Yeah.
Those are the other guys. Betway likes it. Must be 19 years of age or older.
Okay.
Please play responsibly, they say too.
Okay.
So, yeah, maybe that's why they're telling me not to do these plus 8,000 bets. Is that a responsible bet? I don't know. Maybe it's not a very responsible bet, I guess.
All right. We'll close it out there. Everybody
what
in
do
the
you
chat.
expect let's quickly, in the game tonight, do you expect the Canucks fired up in this one, or is this one where the Sens might be more fired up?
I mean, the Canucks have to fire it up in this game.
Okay.
Right? Like, they have to. There's no other choice. This is going to be a very telling road trip, and I think it was definitely a calculated decision that Rutherford said these comments right before this season-altering road trip.
All right. I tried, Greg. Tried to extend it a little bit.
Cornbread jumped in the chat, said, yeah, take this 50, put it on Horvat, reinvest those winnings in pork rinds.
Hey, Cornbread's been there, done that.
Couldn't have said it better.
Knows what he's doing over there.
All right, we'll wrap it up there.
Hey, tomorrow, sorry, Greg. Greg wants to hear more of the show. He's listening to the podcast right now. Greg, shout out to you out in Tsawwassen. Will Lockwood tomorrow on the show. Will Lockwood joining us tomorrow. So from the Outskirts Canucks, he's been on a tear lately. They're calling him Wild Bill out there.
All right.
Apparently, I haven't heard anyone call him that.
Okay, we're going overtime here. We'll wrap it up
Big
there.
Fishing talk tomorrow.
For my co-host, Chris Faber, my name is David Quadrelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of The Canucks Conversation.
Lions roar. Still roaring, baby. Go Lions.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation, delivered by DoorDash. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?